Hi guys, before I dive into this video too thoroughly, I wanted to do a quick shout out to Kelsey at Little Mama Purple. That is her YouTube channel. I'm going to have the link in the description below. Be sure to check out her channel. She is also a mama of a little boy who has autism. He also has epilepsy, and she is always sharing on how she adapts her curriculum to suit her son's needs. I will have the link in the description that will bring you to her video regarding their kind of follow-up with Bookshark and how they used it and what they liked and what they didn't like. And be sure to flip through her channel. She's got a lot of great content. I really enjoy watching her because not only does she share her journey with her son, but she also is very transparent that she also lives with autism. And so it is super neat to see her perspective as well, being a person that lives with autism, and how she adapts the world for her son that lives with autism as well. So check out the video coming up about how we adapt curriculum, and be sure to check the link in the description below and check out Kelsey's video too. Hi guys, it's Monique from earlylearningmom.com. Today I'm here to talk to you about a series that I'm currently participating in. It's a blog hop. It's the Not Back to School blog hop series, and I wanted to throw in some videos into my blog posts so I can include my YouTube channel along with this series. So today I'm going to be talking about autism and curriculum selection. Now, this is not my formal homeschool what we're using in 2019-2020 video, but I did pull out a few pieces just so I can show you guys different ways that you can homeschool your child with autism who may not have great fine motor skills, and utilizing read out louds and reading time. So our main curriculum that we use is Bookshark, and this year we are going to be using level 1, and that is ages 6 to 8. So don't think just because your child is grade 2 that they should be in the level 2 book. It doesn't work that way. My son just turned 7. He's going to be in the level 1 book, even though he's formally grade 2. And so what we do is we look at the weekly guides and we read out loud. There are some worksheets that go with it, and there's a few main books, but we just, you know, I don't focus so much on the worksheets. What I end up doing is I do the read out loud, and then I will look at the questions, and if I want to talk to him about them, I do. If he's receptive to it, great. If not, I trust that he absorbed the information and we move on. With these early years, we're just introducing topics, so I don't stress. And sometimes I will look through the books that we have at home, and I might add in some supplementary stuff. But besides that, this is mostly what we do. We just follow the guide, read, and if we want to do the worksheets, we do them. If he's not receptive to it, we move on. I do a lot of fine motor skills things. So right now we're working on a lot of dot to dots. We just finished up our last dot to dot book, so we are going to be restarting this one. And it just has him focus and scan the page, and that's what we use. We are a big fan of handwriting without tears, and the thing is, some kids with autism, they are delayed in gross motor skills, some are delayed in fine motor skills. For my little guy, he is ahead in gross motor skills and delayed in fine motor skills. So I am not afraid to buy this book a few times. I am not afraid to look for different types of handwriting books. We have a few that we're going to be circulating through this school year. I just wanted to show you guys Handwriting Without Tears because we have used their preschool, and we have already used their Kickstart kindergarten. And so I rebought it because I want to go through. And I mean, yeah, I know some people will just photocopy them, but by the time I figured out the time it took me to photocopy it and the cost of ink and paper, the books are cheap enough that it was just easier for me to pick up another one. So I grabbed, I'm going to be using that, and we are going to be using a few other ones. So later, probably in the next couple weeks, I'll introduce our full curriculum video. So stay tuned and I'll show you some more of that. Another thing I love are these Sassafras Science Adventures. We're currently working on Volume 1, but we will be reading Volume 2, and I'm hoping to get the rest of them. They are about these two twins, or at least the first one is about these two twins that don't do well in science at school. Their parents send them during the summer instead of to camp. They go to their crazy uncle's house, and he has a zip line that he sends them through to different parts of the world to learn about science. And obviously it's more of a, like, to me it's like a magic tree house meets the magic school bus, and you can read a chapter and then kind of dive into that chapter. So in the animal one that we're reading, Volume 1, they were talking about like safari animals. So then we read Chapter 1, and I went and grabbed a bunch of books from the library on the safari animals, and we kind of read through some safari animal books, and then we moved on to Chapter 2. And so that's how I've been using these. There are like guides that you can write in the animals that you read about in the story, and teacher's guides, and all that. I look at the teacher's guide to get some suggestions for books to go with each chapter, but I'm not too worried about the comprehension questions at this point. These books are awesome, and we will probably come back to them as he gets older and hit them again. But that is another option for teaching children with autism. Just read this book out loud to them. Read at night, a chapter a night, or like, honestly, we get sucked into it, and I find myself having to, like, okay, we have to stop. We have to read the other books that go with it. Easy peasy homeschooling. I personally don't like to read off the computer, so I purchased these, but it is, they're designed to have the kiddo read it out loud to themselves, but in our case, we are going to start off, and they recommend it too, that you start off reading to your child, and there's 190 days, or 180 days of stories, chapters in here, and the contents are, like, there's stories like the tale of Jolly Robin, Beatrice Potter stories, the tale of Solomon Owl, there's some poetry. So for us, we're just going to read one day a day. And I have, this is the first reader, I also have the second reader, and as he becomes more, like, he is a very confident reader, but I don't like to push it, I don't like to test him, so I will play it by ear and see if we will get him to read it, or whether I'll read it to him. It might change daily, it might change per sentence. And to go along with science that I mentioned before, we have been using the 180 days, and this is the 180 days for first grade. And what I really like about these is there's not a lot of writing required. There's like a little blurb here, but you can scribe that for your child, but there is a lot of multiple choice. And so Z will read it to me, I'll read it to him, and then he will select the multiple choice answers. And so far I have found at least the kindergarten books and the science grade 1 don't require a lot of writing. And this one requires a little bit more, but not quite as much. There's a lot of matching, so you can still see if your child is getting the concepts, and you can still work through it with them. So we really like those type of books. So the other thing we're going to be trying this year is math, Lessons for a Living Education. We're going to do level 1, and what I really like about this is it is a story. So you read the story, and then the week, the assignments that you'll be doing are corresponded to the story. And so my thoughts are, I bought this for the stories. If we do the worksheets, fantastic. If we do some of the worksheets, fantastic. If we don't do any of the worksheets and we just read the stories, fantastic. So I was thinking of doing a flip through of this before we actually dive in, so I will probably do a more in-depth video on that. Now, lastly, for Canadian history. Now, if I were American, it would be so easy to teach American history, and we have done some. We were reading about Benjamin Franklin, and there's just so much literature to pull that you don't need a formal curriculum. You don't need to sit down and have somebody tell you what to teach. Just read about it. Just dive in and read, and your child will pick up facts. And if they don't know every single fact about every single president, it's not the end of the world. So, that being said, it was a little bit more difficult to gather information about Canadian history. So I tend to dive into Scholastic. And I found some Canadian Scholastic books about, women of history, Canadian history, things like that. So whenever I'm out and about at a thrift store and I see something about Canada and Canadian history or Canadian stories, I grab them. But our main curriculum for this year, we'll be reading through WOW Canada, and it is about a family that goes on a road trip and visits all the provinces and territories, and they talk about their trip and what they did. And so this is really exciting to us because, Manitoba is in here, and there's some of the things that we do on the regular in Manitoba that pop up in here. And there's places that we have visited before, or we have family that live there. Like I look right here, and every time we drive to Steinbach, we pass this sign, the longitude central of Canada. And so we pass that, so it'd be interesting to read about it and to share it with him. So it is just kind of like a journey through Canada. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to read a page or two a day or every few days and get through Canada. And I think there's other books by this publisher that are kind of on the same wavelength. So this is how we're doing Canadian history. We're just reading about it. I have other books that connect, like a short reader about Manitoba, about Ontario, about Saskatchewan, about British Columbia. And if we're in a certain province, like let's say we're reading about Manitoba, I will pull out that Manitoba reader and we'll read about it. So that is how I adapt homeschool for my son with autism, who is starting grade 2. This is not all of our curriculum. I have a huge basket because, like I've mentioned before, we are a big read out loud family, and I have a basket. I don't even know how many books are in there, to be honest. I have them all individually packed for individual weeks, and I'll share that in a later video. But it is just how we learn, and I can't help but learn along with him. And I feel that when I try to sit him down to do like a lot of worksheets and a lot of workbooks and a lot of, make him put pen to paper to prove to me what he learns, he kind of shuts down. But if I focus a lot on the read alouds and reading out of Usborne encyclopedia books, like just on a topic, let's say we're in science and we're learning about mammals, well, flipping to that children's encyclopedia book and reading the page about mammals and hitting him from different areas, that when we sit down and I do ask him to do some writing, whether it's penmanship or whether it is the 108 day books, he is way more cooperative because that is not what our day consists of. But I can still get a little pen on paper so I can have a record that yes, we are doing some schoolwork, in case I was ever asked from our local homeschool authority, but I don't think that would ever happen. I just like to have it in my own records. So that is it. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.